Hey everyone, it's Saoirse, and today I'm really excited about the book I'm going to talk about. It is Egghead by Bo Burnham. Subtitle, You Can't Survive on Ideas Alone. And this is illustrated by Chance Bone. It was published in 2013. If you have ever watched Bo Burnham's special What? It's on Netflix. He reads some of the poems from here, and the way that he reads them is so funny, and obviously I can't match that. It's amazing to see how something can go from words on a page to being expressed in a completely different way when the writer reads it aloud. That's why I love spoken word. So anyway, I started watching Bo many years ago. I have this memory of being really young. He's about 3 years older than me, so I think I was a young teenager, and I can't remember exactly what I was watching, but I think it was before, might have been before What, so I don't know what it was. But I liked him, but I kind of didn't follow what he was doing for years. Kind of didn't really think about him until recently when Inside came out. And I was like, oh, I've heard of this guy, and I had just seen him in Promising Young Woman, and everyone was saying Inside was depressing and wonderful, and so I was like, I love depressing, so I have to watch it. And as I've said, I want to do a video on Inside in particular, but in the meantime I got this book, and I want to read you some of the things that I liked in it, because now I'm obsessed with Bo Burnham, and especially Inside. Like, look at all these stickers I've put on my bottle. Focus. These are things that I've found on Etsy. This one's amazing. Press A to cry. Yeah. So let's get into it. Oh, language warning. I usually do not curse in my videos, which is really opposite to how I speak in my daily life, because I curse a lot. But I always worry it's going to mess with my monetization or something. But today I don't care, because he uses a lot of language in his poems, so I won't censor them. And he doesn't have page numbers, so I'm going by my little strips here. First one's called Magic. Read this to yourself. Read it silently. Don't move your lips. Don't make a sound. Listen to yourself. Listen without hearing anything. What a wonderfully weird thing, huh? Now make this part loud. Scream it in your mind. Drown everything out. Now hear a whisper, a tiny whisper. Now read this next line with your best crotchety old man voice. Hello there, Sonny. Does your town have a post office? Awesome. Who was that? Whose voice was that? It sure wasn't yours. How do you do that? How? Must be magic. I love this one, because obviously, like, it's different when you're reading it in your head. You're doing what he's telling you to do. You're reading it loud in your mind and quiet in your mind, and then reading it in an old man voice. And I think it's so cool how we can do that. He's really playful in this book with language and rhymes and homophones, and yeah, I love the way he plays around with things. This one's called Flowers. On the 3rd of June, at 2:01, where once was a person, a flower now grew. 5 daisies arranged on a large outdoor stage in front of a 10-acre pasture of sage. In a changing room, a lily poses. At the DMV, rows of roses. The world was much crueler an hour ago. I'm glad someone decided to give flowers a go. That one's sweet. Some of them are, I forgot to show you the illustrations too. That was the first one. And I don't think the illustrations always have anything to do with the poem, but they're such cool illustrations. But yeah, some of these are like really sweet and poetic, if you will, and then others are so crude, and yeah, but I love them. I love them all. Some of them are shocking. The next one is called Fitting. I love this. How fitting, she thought to herself, or just thought, as she was the only person to whom she had ever thought. How fitting, she thought, that her words, after tumbling in her head all day, came out shrunken, like they were meant for a child. I laughed so hard when I read that first part. she was the only person to whom she had ever thought, so why do we say she thought to herself? I laughed so hard. And then the next part, I mean, it's such a short poem, and in it I got a big laugh and then, ooh, like sad, scary thought. Because I just love the way he says, you know, your thoughts are tumbling all day in your head, and then they come out. When they come out, they never come out the way that you want them to or expect them to, because they're these big thoughts and you've got these concepts and ideas, and then they come out like you're a little child. And I struggle with this a lot, and especially talking on here, I feel like such an idiot sometimes because I want to make points about things and my brain is just like, no, you're not going to make that point. You're going to sound like a total fool. And then people will make mean comments about how you have garbage degrees and you know nothing, which is not so nice. This one's called Using You. I worry that I'm using you, my love, my light, my back scratcher, my cooking dick glove, my sapient baby maker, my emotional treadmill, my long-legged suggestion box, my immaculate tissue dispenser. I worry that I'm using you. Classic me. I love that one. A little commentary on the things we do to each other in relationships. And we know what we're doing and can't seem to stop it. This is called Split Decision. Since both of us couldn't have you, one of us had to halve you. I pronounced it extra hard for you, halve, as in to cut in half. And I love that, because it's like how we enter a new relationship, and if it isn't with the right person and we can't entirely be ourselves, then either us or the other person is going to make the decision to cut in half who we are and to remove the part that isn't wanted, which is toxic and bad. And if you're in a relationship like that, get out. Easier said than done, but I just like that. Such a short poem with a lot of meaning. This one's just funny. It's called Hold the Cheese. I'll have a cheeseburger. Hold the cheese. Hold it in your hand until it melts, until it bears the shape of that voluptuous palm of yours. Then put it on my burger. That's an example of him just messing with weird sayings that we have and playing around with language. Hold the cheese. Why do we say that? This is called Touch Me Back. Touch me back, you said, like a pirate talking to a masseuse. Right away, Captain, I replied, forgetting that you couldn't hear that connection that I made in my head. This one took me a minute, because I had to read it again as a pirate to understand the double meaning. Touch me back. It's like, touch me back, me instead of my, like a pirate. So that was hilarious. And then when he says, I was forgetting you couldn't hear that connection I made in my head, I just love that. Like, how many times do we say something and forget, like, the person we're talking to does not have the same experience with life that we do. So, like, what we're saying might not make any sense at all. We think we're being funny or making a point, and the other person's just like, what? And it's very embarrassing. This next one is called Hanged. It's a bit sadder. I hung myself today. Hanged? Whatever. Point is, I hanged myself today and I'm still hanging. I feel fine, just bored. I keep hoping that someone will come home and cut me down, but then I keep remembering that if I knew someone like that, I wouldn't be up here. Bit ironic, right? Or is that not ironic? I read somewhere that, like, anything funny is in some way ironic, but I don't know if it's funny or not. I don't think my brain owns funny, you know? I feel taller. I like that. I've never been away from my shadow for this long. It had always clung to my feet, parting momentarily for a quick dive into the swimming pool, but never for 5 hours. I like it. There's 3 feet of space between my 2 and the floor. I wanted something this morning. I may be stuck, but at least I'm 3 feet closer to it. Yeah, classic Bo Burnham. He makes you really depressed while also kind of laughing manically at things. I don't know. You just have to watch his specials. On Netflix, there's What, Make Happy, and Inside, and then you can find tons of stuff on YouTube. Go down the rabbit hole. And that was the illustration that is adjacent to that page. Oh, and this is the one from the last poem. I forgot. I always forget to show you. The next one is also pretty sad. It's called A Ghost Story. 2 young boys in corduroys were playing with a ball. 2 young boys heard one strange noise coming from the hall. The boys stood still, well, still until the door swung open wide, and a ghostly chill and a real ghost, Bill, reheaved the heck inside. The brave boy stood, as the brave boy would, and said, "Hey, listen, Bill, we're here to hear you, not to fear you, tell us what you will." The other boy wheezed and sneezed, then seized and vomited on the floor. He shook his brain, he felt insane, nothing was real anymore. "Ghosts are real, they're fucking real," he cried and shook and feared, for nature's laws were gone because a ghost had just appeared. And on that night of fear and fright, the brave boy had his thrills, and the other one was fucking done and swallowed 50 pills. And there's the ghost. I just like that, as depressing as it is, because it just illustrates how we can have the same experience as someone else physically, but not have the same experience mentally. And I think a lot of people find it all too easy to say, "Hey, I went through the same thing as you. Why aren't you fine? I'm fine." And it just doesn't work that way. I mean, life would be pretty boring if we all had exactly the same reactions to everything. Maybe there would be less fighting, but it would be really boring. So I just think that's an important one. I didn't write this one down. I'm gonna read it. This is called Beautiful. "You're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, and I know that, but I can't rediscover it every fucking day. I can't return to that epiphany every time my alarm clock goes off. It's unnatural. But what I can do, and do quite naturally, is become jaded and unimpressed by it. I can see your beauty as normal, as one of my life's many constants. I can climb atop its shoulders and travel about, rolling my eyes at sunsets and rainbows, dismissing all the beauty of the world as less than average, and I can complain to you about it, and you can deduce your beauty from that." That one was just brilliant. Excuse my inability to read without stuttering, as if I'd never read aloud before. I love this concept because it's just, you know, when you're in a long-term relationship and you just kind of can feel the other person completely taking you for granted after a certain amount of time. Sometimes it's a few months, sometimes it's a couple years, and you're like, oh, you know, all those nice compliments you gave me at the beginning, you thought I was this and that. Now you're just so totally used to me that I'm boring to you, and it's like whatever beauty you thought I had is meaningless because you're so used to waking up every day and seeing it. And I feel like I get like that about life when I'm really depressed. I can look at things that I think are beautiful usually and go like, well, I've seen it now. I've seen it for decades. Why do I need to ever see it again? You know, I should just stop seeing things. And that's a scary place to be in, and so I think it's so important to be able to recognize the beauty of things. And I do a lot. You know, I often sit in my house and look at the way that the light comes in through this specific window at like 6 o'clock at night when the sun is starting to set. I don't know if that's the right time. Maybe it's like 7. I don't know. It's summer. And it's just so pretty, and I look at my cats and how absolutely perfect they are. And I guess, yeah, there are things that I will never get tired of. But then I say that when I'm not in the deepest of depressions. When I'm really in it, it's hard to say that I want to see anything again. This one is called Her Eyes. Her eyes were like fire. They weren't red or anything. Not particularly warm either. They didn't glow or appear to glow, whatever that means. But they had that same strange blend of familiar and miraculous. And they were always nice to look at after a long day of doing things. I just think that one's so nice. Like sort of making fun of poetic talk, but at the same time saying how much somebody means to you in a way that is accessible to you in your language. If you don't tend to talk poetically, you can still express how you feel. This is called Progress. Just this one and one more. I almost forgot about you today. A sizable spill of coffee shot me to my feet, holding up my mocha-soaked notebook like an unclaimed child. A dozen eyes found me at once, a security measure meant to bring shame to a klutz breaking his social contract. Attention for shit living. When the pain receded, I stood in place and imagined you brushing your teeth. That one's just so sad. I love that. A security measure meant to bring shame to a klutz breaking his social contract. Like, we'll all just agree we're not supposed to spill our coffee. And when we do, we all have to stare at the person who did it. Oh, and again, I forgot to show you. That was from her eyes. Why do I have such trouble remembering? Did I show you this one? I might have. So yeah, just one more. And this one might be my favorite because it's a great example of him just messing with language and also like overthinking, which he's really good at. I love the way things get really meta in his specials. He talks a lot about performing while he's performing, and I just really appreciate that because I don't know, I like hearing people talk about writing as a writer. I find it interesting, but then I wonder if people who don't write have any interest in that. But I find that it doesn't matter to me. I like when anybody talks about the thing that they are consumed by. I like, hearing artists talk about art, musicians talk about music. So it doesn't have to be something that I know anything about to be interesting. Okay. One sip of water. I keep burping. I swear it's like every video. Bustle. Writers like to talk about how things are or were bustling. The market was bustling on a bustling street corner. In a bustling bakery, the muffins bustled in the oven. Don't worry, Rupert, the bus'll be bustling by in 5 minutes. I mean, I get it. Bustle is a good word. It makes total sense. Whenever I'm in a group of more than 3 people, all I can hear in my mind is bustle, 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 bustle. I say it to myself silently, even when people appear to be trying to start a conversation with me. A cute girl may be right in front of me, looking at my face and mouthing sounds, but all I can think of is bustle, 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 bustle. That one was just hilarious. When people appear to be trying to have a conversation with me. Because it starts out like you're just talking about how ridiculous the word bustling is and how it's so overused in writing. And then it turns into this manic sort of, yeah, it's all I'm thinking about. It's all I can ever think. Of course it's a good word. We use it all the time because it's all I can think. I love it. The bustle be bustling by. In a bustling bakery, the muffins bustled in the oven. As a baker, I really appreciated that. My muffins do bustle in the oven. And I have to make 36 cupcakes in the morning. No, not tomorrow morning, the next morning. Oh, when I post this video, that won't be relevant. Anyway, I have to make a lot of cupcakes. I like in the acknowledgements as well. In Chance Bones' acknowledgement, he says, "And thank you to Bo. He sure is nice for being so tall." And at first I read that as, like, it's nice of him to be so tall, which I thought was hilarious, but then now I'm thinking maybe it's, for being a tall person, he's pretty nice. Like, tall people can't be nice. So how do you read that line? I like that there are 2 ways that you can read it. So I definitely recommend this book. I had to order it at the bookstore because they said they had 1 copy, and I looked everywhere for it, and everyone in the store was like helping me look for it, and we could not find it, so I think somebody stole it or whatever. Not nice, don't do that. Yeah. So highly recommend, and check out Bo Burnham's specials. Enjoy, fall down the rabbit hole. I am just loving the things that he has to say and the way he says them and sings them. So still definitely want to do an inside video. I'm not going to forget about that. It's just kind of like stressful because I have so many thoughts and I have to actually write them down. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.